Welcome to Global Business Line, the international platform for innovation, leadership, and success. From our global magazine to podcasts, events, and prestigious awards, we bring you the stories and opportunities shaping the future of business. Tune in and enjoy with Sneha Gupta.
This episode of the Global Business Line podcast is brought to you in association with Rich Webs, your one-stop solution for all IT needs.
Welcome to the Global Business Line podcast. I am your host Sneha Gupta, CEO and founder of Global Business Line. I am very glad to be here with you all. At Global Business Line, we are on a mission to provide mentorship across diverse topics, bringing insights from leaders worldwide to help individuals grow, thrive, and contribute to the better world. Today, we are diving into the exciting world of eco fashion. Yes, fashion, interesting, huh? With Domagoj Boljar, co founder and CEO of Earthbound Sneakers. Domagoj, a pioneer in sustainable innovation, has redefined fashion with Croatia's first B Corp and the world's first Cortex Standard 100 certified sneakers. We are thrilled to explore challenges and innovation in eco friendly fashion. Domagoj, we are delighted to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me. I am looking forward to this podcast.
So, Domagoj, can you share the story behind Earthbound Sneakers and what inspired you to prioritize sustainability in fashion?
Together with my brother, I was operating a really small shoe factory, which also was a shoe design studio in Croatia. And we were working with high-end luxury brands from France. We were developing luxury sneakers. So we had the opportunity to see the footwear industry from the inside out, from the side of the materials, from the side of the production, and also from the side of consumption. And at one point in 2015, my brother said that he wanted to use this knowledge, this insight that we have, to change the industry from the inside out and to make footwear and footwear production compatible with nature. So we decided to embark on this sustainability journey, but with one very strong priority and one very strong and clear filter that ecology comes first, then comes human health, and then everything else. So that was the inspiration behind the project.
Okay, great. So, Damogoj, how do you see mentorship shaping the future of sustainable fashion?
Uh, when we started developing this project, we only knew that we want to change the industry and we want to become impactful and sustainable, but that was it. We had to find new knowledge and mentorship for us to help us understand what is impact, what is ecology and sustainability, and how to translate these principles into a business. Because a business not just only has to be impactful, but also it needs to be profitable. So we had to find mentors and advisors who will help us try to make a connection between profit and impact so that one does not impede on the other, but rather strengthens one principle strengthens the other. So I think mentorship and sharing this knowledge is paramount because sustainability again is an umbrella term, and it's sometimes to, especially to decision makers in a business, seems rather esoteric, not specific enough, and seems expensive. And I think that mentorship needs to be there to help future leaders to understand that there is a business case to be made with sustainability.
Yeah, true. That's why we are bringing all this mentorship session. Okay. So, Damogaj, what were the biggest hurdles in achieving the Codex Standard 100 certification and how did you overcome them?
Um, for the Ecotex 100 certification, we I have to say we had very little obstacles because we were, I would have to say, kind of lucky. Because all the principles that we envisioned before going into certification were such that they perfectly aligned with this certification. How we got this certification is it is a certification that certifies that all of the chemicals that are used in a product are completely safe to human health. So the complete product is tested for more than 350 chemicals which can have a detrimental effect on human health. But by choosing natural materials and by vetting our suppliers and asking them for technical data sheets and chemical analysis of each and every component that we put in our sneakers, even before we plan to go to certify the sneaker, so we had a high standard for these suppliers. So when we made this recipe for a sneaker and when we sent it out for testing, it passed the testing on the first run because of this principle that we had before. So I think it would be much harder for some other brand that is not implementing ecology and human health first to change the product in a way that it can fit the certification. I have to say, give one small explanation is that if you usually Ecotex certify equipment for babies, such as diapers or pacifiers, or you certify towels or underwear. And all of these products usually have only one or two components. But footwear has 14, 15, up to 20 components, and all of these need to be tested. So it's much harder to achieve this kind of result.
Okay, great that you have achieved. So, to help our audience understand, I will briefly explain. The Codex, also pronounced as Ocotex and Ecotex. So, the Codex Standard 100 is an internationally recognized certification system ensuring that textile and raw materials are free from harmful substances and safe for consumers. Established in the 1990s by the International Codex Association based in Zurich, Switzerland. This certification also promotes transparency and sustainable practices, correct?
Correct.
So, could you share how achieving this certification impacted Earthbound Sneakers?
One of the biggest obstacles for brands that are marketing their message through sustainability is that we are encountering something that's called greenwashing. And greenwashing means that many brands or products are advertised in a way which is not clear or independently verified. Eco this, green this, healthy this, organic this and that. So the only way to stand out in between the competition or other brands that have dubious or false claims is to substantiate our claims with scientific evidence. And for us, this was a key um, um, what would be the word, key differentiator between us and all the other brands that are claiming health or sustainability. So I think it put us on the map and that the consumers really recognize the importance of providing scientific and third-party independent certification for these kind of products.
So, you are saying it's helped your brand to stand out from your competitor, right?
Yes, exactly.
It had given the privilege to Earthbound Sneakers, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So any kind of certification generally give, merit to the brand, in my
Yes.
opinion.
it gives merit not just to the consumers, but also through all the other stakeholders, because achieving certification of any kind, if it's relevant, is a process that requires a lot of effort and time, but it basically underlines a premise to be true or false. We are the only Croatian B Corp company, which is another kind of certification, if I may just add on this. It's a certification that certifies the entire company and its alignment with ESG principles. So for us, it was also not just important to certify the product, but also to certify all our other claims and processes that we have towards governance, ecology, and all the other principles of ESG.
And also, it helped in gaining trust, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Especially it's being a brand that sells online, trust is, I think, basically what you sell is trust. And
Mhm.
the only way that you can establish yourself is through certification and also by reviews from customers. And this is how people get to know you if they cannot get to know you in person.
Okay. So, fashion demands creativity, but sustainability has its constraints. So, how do you balance innovation and eco friendly practices?
It is quite difficult. When, as I said, when you put a principle such as ecology first and health second, and then when I say that everything else comes third, and third is, of course, design, durability, comfort. So if everything needs to pass through a sustainability filter, then you are quite limited in design and development decisions. So when we develop a product, it cannot be so complicated or flashy as some sporty shoe or a sporty sneaker. It has its limitations. It also brings limitations to the technical construction. For example, after 5 years of being on the market, we are still not able to develop a technical shoe that will be for a sport, for running, etc. So definitely, it brings about problems which we wouldn't have if we were using leather or plastic or other unsustainable materials. So unfortunately, sustainability in shoes is still not there because of the high technical demand for shoes, which is not always there for apparel, for example.
This is something funny, but I have always wondered about this every time I watch a fashion show. You know, the models wearing something like pillow at back of the head, or wearing a dress like a tree. So why do models often wear such bold and unconventional outfits? These are not the styles people typically wear every day, right? So what is the thought process or goal behind showcasing such bold and experimental designs on the runway?
Well, that is a good question, and I have some background in this. Working with luxury brands, we touched upon this part of the fashion industry that's called couture, and couture is a French word for this high-end luxury fashion that is often a purpose for itself. So often these kind of styles are not even sold, but are only used as something that we would call a screamer product. A screamer product would be something that grabs attention and brings people to the brand, builds brand awareness, or some flash that creates a high-end luxury brand, and then the brand has a line which is more wearable, and this is what people actually buy. So it's a show, and it should be considered as that. I think couture is actually the right level of fashion we are talking about here. What we used to do is we mostly did uh, luxury products that were, I would say, like borderline crazy designs, but still wearable. But sometimes we would get a task to develop something in this sense, and it would be an extremely small quantity, or even just one piece that would be then used on a runway and never be produced again.
So, what is the goal behind that?
uh, the goal is grabbing attention, building brand awareness. If there is 50 fashion shows and yours is the craziest one, you will be the brand that people are talking about. We are not a high-end fashion brand, but we had to adopt some of these principles, and sometimes we do a style that is so crazy that we think nobody will buy it. For example, our one of our best sellers is a bright blue, bright green sneaker. And we made a small quantity thinking this will grab attention, but in the end it was a bestseller. So it can be various goals, but I think number one is grabbing attention. And the example is that we are talking about it now, which means that they grabbed our attention.
Okay, correct. For attention only.
Mm.
Okay. So, what advice would you give to budding entrepreneurs looking to make a mark in eco fashion?
Uh, in general, for new entrepreneurs, I would give them one piece of advice. Uh, Go beyond innovation. Don't be an innovator, be an entrepreneur, which means quite simple. Don't develop your product or your idea in secrecy or in hiding. Ask your friends, ask your family, ask the market. Go on the market even before your product is in your mind finished. Go with a minimal viable product and test the market, because the feedback that you receive is the most important thing that you will ever get. It can be good feedback, it will be bad feedback, but it will save you time and it will help you adapt and change and further develop your idea. So the sooner you launch, the better. It's never perfect. It will never be perfect. Go and ask the market.
Okay. Anything else you would like to add?
Uh, on that note, so the sooner you go on the market, the better. So the younger you are, the better. Don't think you don't have much experience. Even if you're young, this means that you don't have the experience, but your ideas are most probably really fresh. So don't
Mhm.
wait.
Okay. Great advice. What are the most exciting innovations you have, seen in sustainable fashion, and how can startup leverage these trends?
That is a really difficult question. So, and why it's difficult? Because um, we look at sustainable fashion as a broad community of brands that are trying to find the solution for true sustainability. Uh, when we are talking about brands and companies that are really honestly trying to find a solution for a huge ecological problem, all of these brands, including us, have different ideas and different venues, and it is really hard to compare. The basics are that you can either do a product that is highly repairable or extremely durable with timeless design. let's say, a high-end quality leather boot that you can wear for a generation or even give to your children one day. Or you can go and use natural materials as we do, or you can use secondhand plastics or ocean plastics, where you take plastics from the ocean and incorporate it in your product, etc., etc. There are many venues, and uh, no one really knows which one of these will prevail and which one will turn out to be the optimal solution. So I would say that sustainability in fashion is still a playground of ideas and creativity. And I would not be able to tell you which of these specific solutions is the best or really intrigues me. One other direction of sustainability in fashion is, for example, creating traditional footwear with no design change, but trying to incorporate all the social aspects behind the production. So really taking care of the suppliers, the wages, the human rights, etc. So I think the brand that came really, really far with social sustainability is Veja. They are doing a classical sneaker with a design twist, but they are really digging deep into the social issues. I think Earthbound, us, we are definitely going the furthest into regional consumption, regional sourcing, and radical ecology. And there are many brands that are using second-hand, non-virgin plastics, which is also a viable route, but we don't consider this one a good one, and I will explain why. Uh, I think that using secondhand plastics to create a new product creates a moral hazard. Uh, it's really hard to educate the consumer, and the consumer it doesn't have time. Lives are complicated, and we tend to reach out to solutions that we are offered. But when you say to a consumer that using plastics excessively as a consumer is okay because that plastic will then be used in another product, creates a false narrative that all plastics will find a second life, which is not even remotely true. So yeah, I know this is a really long answer to a short question, but this is the area where it all happens. It really is a complicated subject.
If you want to extend it, you can.
Thank you. But I think that is
Because because it is the main purpose of this podcast is, mentorship, and this is something eco fashion lies, right? So please continue this, because I think plastic should be banned completely to save the world.
we would agree, but there is. Ooh, that's a difficult subject. You know, my brother always says that plastics are a fantastic material. They are amazing. Why? They are durable. The design possibilities for any product are limitless, and they are cheap. But in that lies the problem. They're durable, they are forever, and they're cheap. So we use it excessively in the West, in Europe. There have been great strides to try to limit, especially single-use plastics. But all of these efforts have been, I would say, a veil. Very, very limited success, because I don't think that plastic bags or plastic straws or plastic spoons make up the bulk of the plastic pollution. But we have this magic thing in Europe that we kind of found a way to clean up the continent in a way that you don't see the pollution. And that is a problem because it's hidden. In South America, I don't know what the situation now is in India, but I presume it's really bad still. the pollution is visible. In Europe, it's the same, but it's not visible. The plastics are not in the creeks or on the street, but they are in the forest and they are in the dumping grounds. It's I would have to agree and radically say that plastics should be banned, but then an issue arises of what will be used instead of plastics. For example, let's imagine a future where
There
everyone.
comes innovators, right? Like already, like you have invented sneakers, right? So, and in India also, many of the innovators are there who are working in this field. And I think there is a solution, but people have to understand the innovator have to come forward for this,
Absolutely.
and
And
people have to accept.
I will give you an example, which is really a negative example. We were going towards sustainability quite strong, but sustainability and ecology on a personal level, on the Maslow scale of it comes when your stomach is full, when you are warm, when you have a house, or a roof over your head, and then when you have excess money, then you can go into stuff like choosing sustainability. So if it's a choice, then it is a financial choice. And what we saw during the Corona period is that people were losing their jobs and having less disposable incomes. And so they were going to cheaper solutions, and cheaper is unsustainable. Another thing that happened is the expansion of Temu in Europe and in the USA. I don't know if you know what Temu is. It's a huge, cheap Chinese goods online store that is taking Europe and United States by storm, and people can buy really really cheap, mostly plastic products
Yeah.
for zero shipping. It comes really fast, and people kind of went crazy and started buying this with no ecology in mind.
In
So
India too.
yeah, so same there. So in the end, the governments need to also take action and try to limit people from making bad choices. It's a really, really hard sell for consumers to tell them you're bad or you're making a bad decision, and we would never do that for a company. And we're talking mentorship here. For a company, for a product to be successful, it has to solve a problem. But for whom? For the consumer. It doesn't solve a problem for humanity. It doesn't solve a problem for the company. The company makes a profit if it has a product that offers the consumer a solution. So the consumer needs to see your product as a solution to his problem. But if his problem is lack of money and need for shoes, he will buy cheap plastic shoes. And if the problem for the consumer is that he wants to feel good, that and wants to feel a part of the solution to keep this planet healthy for us and all other beings on this planet, then that's a solution on a whole different level. And it's
Yeah.
and it touches upon education, touches upon personal growth, but it also touches upon income. And then there is a problem. If you tell people, no, we will not be using plastics, you will only be able to buy these expensive, I don't know, leather shoes or metal spoons or ceramic plates. This means that they will have even lower quality of life because you cannot give them what they can afford. It's really, it's really a morally difficult position, and one more thing I have to say, this is why it's really important for a brand when it advertises that it doesn't shame the customer or try to push a narrative on the customer. you need to offer a solution, and the consumer accept it or not, but you cannot push. And this is why it's also difficult. This is something that's really, really dear to my heart, and it's really an interesting subject to discuss.
Yeah. In India, everything, previously everything was sustainable. But right now, the sustainable things, the sustainable products are becoming more, costly.
Yes,
So, and definitely, I agree that it is the, individual choice, and education is required, uh, and the world leaders have to come together to take a step for this. So, like, I generally don't prefer plastics, whether it is a furniture. Even I carry bags, cloth bags with me while going for shopping. So it's definitely depends upon individual, but I will request everyone listening today, so try to avoid plastic and save earth.
absolutely.
Okay.
In this sense, um, small steps can be taken on a personal level to increase sustainability of your person or the family. Using glass bottles when you go and carry water with yourself, using a textile bag and using it repeatedly, not using plastic straws. Do you really need a straw? It doesn't have to even be paper straw. It's a luxury. So you can think on a personal level on many details how to increase your own footprint, decrease your own footprint. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. So, okay. So, how important is collaboration among industry's leaders to drive sustainable innovation in fashion?
I think it's paramount. It's extremely important. Our mission, a mission of our company is to try to change the industry by showing that uh, there is a viable business model in sustainability. So what we do is we attend conferences where companies, bigger companies, are trying to implement at least partially our solutions and solutions from other sustainable brands. So our role in the ecosystem is showing the alternatives to other companies, because bigger and established companies are there. It's hard for them to internally develop or change their products in such a way, and it's a big risk. So the role of new companies is to um, develop and pre-develop stuff that in the future bigger brands will use. So in that sense, more and more conferences and more focus groups are being created, and we are being invited to participate, and which means that someone somewhere is acknowledging that we can offer some solutions that others yet don't have. Earthbound is a tiny company, but sitting at the same table with the likes of Adidas or Nike is amazing, and shows that they also have at least one eye on sustainability. I think it's much more important in the early stage to collab with smaller companies. For example, we are now developing a new technology, but we are collaborating with two small companies of our size. One is a chemical company, one is a machinery producing company, and we are the sustainability experts. And together we formed a consortium, a formal consortium where we are developing a new technology together. If we develop this technology to a level, then we will be able to collaborate with the industry leaders, because we will be able to offer a solution that then can be scaled. So it's really important to understand that startups are there for a reason. Startups are there to test new ideas, and startups have passionate founders which can do a lot with their knowledge and even with little amounts of money. And
Mm-hmm.
then what they create can be offered to bigger companies to implement. And this is how the ecosystem should work, because a bigger company doesn't have the luxury or the structure or the mindset to develop something radically new. A big company was at one point in history a small company, but now it's a big company that has a lot of processes that it needs to follow, and it has a strict organization. So this is where startups and new companies come into play. If we develop a good thing, bigger companies will adapt. If we don't, we will fail. So I think there are very limited corporation and industry leaders in the world that still keep this innovation spirit inside. I will give
Mm-hmm.
an example which is outside the fashion industry. It's, for example, it's Bosch, the German company that develops machinery and home appliances, and also 3M, if I'm not mistaken. They have their own internal policy where if there's a team or an employee that has an idea and wants to further develop it, they make a spin-off out of that idea and give the person the freedom to develop this idea. So but that is really rare. So this is where new companies can find their place as innovation bubbles, innovation seeds for the change that is needed.
Okay. So you are basically saying that they have to first collab with the small companies
I think so, yes.
before approaching to big companies
Yes.
till they are achieving certain stage, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So where do you see the sustainable fashion industry heading in the next decade? And what role do you hope Earthbound will play in it?
I think the biggest change and the biggest trend will be the further strengthening of regionalization. I think we are in a global stage where this globalized production and globalized consumption is changing back to regional, and it is changing back on many levels. So it's changing on a geopolitical, on the level, also on the more and more countries are introducing tariffs and are introducing incentives for reshoring. Reshoring means that countries such as America or Germany are trying to get back the production that they at one point sent to China, for example, and other countries. So what will be the trend is regional production and regional consumption, with as trying to decrease the shipping cost and shipping footprint, but also not just for the materials, but for the production and from the consumption. So I think that what will be the biggest change, and also it touches upon sustainability, is how to locally produce and locally consume. So what we are doing with the new technology that we are trying to develop is trying to create a technology where you can produce some of the components of the shoe in the shoe factory that would usually be produced somewhere else and shipped thousands of kilometers. I cannot go into details, but I think these kind of technologies for local production and for maybe even on-demand production will be something that's a route for sustainability. But that's just my vision and my opinion on where things are going. I might be completely wrong. So it's
Okay.
really difficult to predict trends.
Okay. And what role do you hope Earthbound will play in it?
exactly what I said. I think our role is will be providing technology, which we will then be able to replicate and sell to other companies, and that our core business of producing the world's most ecological sneakers will thrive on its own, but also be a beacon of that will show other brands that it makes sense economically and sustainability wise.
Okay, great, great. So, public relations plays a critical role in telling a brand story. Okay, so how can platforms like Global Business Line help sustainable fashion brands amplify their message?
it it's very important to get your message out there. And this touches upon what I said earlier, not being just an innovator, but being an entrepreneur. And the entrepreneur is someone who stands on the top of the hill and says, "Look at me, I bring a solution, and look at what I created." And this kind of outlet, Global Business Line is one of those outlets that allows us to bring our message across. And the more of these outlets that are available for small brands, small companies, the stronger the message they can get across. So I'm quite grateful for Global Business Line for giving me this opportunity to tell a bit of our story and a bit of our of knowledge, and I hope you'll be able to bring other stories also to life through your.
Definitely, Domagoj. At Global Business Line, our mission is to empower and recognize businesses and professionals across various sectors. Through our magazine, events, and podcast, we aim to provide valuable mentorship and opportunities, for growth, helping individuals and organizations reach their fullest potential. What is your marketing strategy for Earthbound?
So our primarily focus is direct to consumer. So we mostly advertise and sell online through social media. So we use Facebook, Instagram, Google Ads, and we use newsletters for our subscribers. But that's a short-term strategy. The long-term strategy is actually what we're doing now, is to try to build brand awareness through participating as experts in our fields, in consumer events, but also in educational or in professional events. So what we hope to achieve one day is to be acknowledged globally as a leader, and for to do this, PR exposure is our strategy. So direct to consumer on one side, but also PR on the other. So but also when we are sending our message out, it's a message of education on sustainability, and trying to make a connection between our mission and vision and sustainability, and to get that message to the stakeholders.
Okay, Domagoj, how to start a new business in eco fashion industry?
The idea is not enough. Uh, you need to bring the product to market, and in order to bring it to market, you need to develop it, and in order to develop it, you need to build a team, and in order to start anything of that sort, you need to have some money to start your project, and that is the most difficult part. People always say that ideas are free, but to bring an idea to fruition and to reality, that requires a hard work, but and requires knowledge, requires mentorship, but it requires money. And for a startup to get the first amount of money needed to start testing and developing the idea, there are many ways that you can approach this. It depends on the part of the world and the country where you're in. Depends how the startup ecosystem is developed. But usually you start with something that is called bootstrapping, which means I have a job during the day and I get a salary, and in the afternoon I take that money and my extra time to start developing the idea. But when you get to a certain stage of with bootstrapping, you need to get some external money so you can get your idea and development faster. And then there are many ways. Usually people start with approaching angel investors, which means that you ask your friends, your family, your coworkers, your people that you worked with or met them at a conference somewhere if they would be willing to invest in your idea. Or there are many other ways. You can try to find accelerator or incubator programs. Many cities or many faculties or even companies have programs where they offer mentorship and some finances for programs that last for 3 or 6 months, where they help you develop and accelerate development of your idea so that it is ready for some next stage. So these are the ways that you can finance your early stage if you don't have any money. So you start with bootstrapping, you ask your friends, family, and angel investors, or you look for accelerator programs or incubator programs. And these are growing, and there are new programs such as these popping up all around the world. And you can find online specific accelerator programs that fit your idea. It doesn't have to be sustainable fashion, but it can be even more specific, developing new materials or building an online brand. It can be, it's really diverse. You just need to really dig deep and find where you can finance your idea.
The sneakers industry is highly competitive. What strategies do you think brands should adopt to ensure their products are not only sustainable but also widely accessible to consumers?
Ooh, it's quite difficult to expect big brands to become fully sustainable. And I think that if I understand the question right, I think what big brands are looking for is to implement sustainability incrementally, step by step. So I think footwear and fashion in general is definitely a very competitive market, and brands will often implement uh, principles of sustainability um, for two reasons. One reason can be exactly that, to differentiate from others or to improve on something in their product. So it's a hard sell for sustainability for big brands. It's a hard sell if it's more expensive than the current solution. So it really, I think, depends on the strategy of the brand and on the top management and their view of their role in society in general. So if for a brand it's purely a marketing decision, then it will be a hard sell. It has to be part of a broader vision. I'm not sure if I answered your question correctly. It's quite a difficult question.
Okay, so tell me your favorite fashion week.
Ooh, I've never been to any. I'm not really following fashion anymore. So uh, we are not swimming in that um, universe anymore. Our universe is a rebel one, a contrarian one. So yeah,
Okay, so Domagoj, being in entrepreneurship, so everyone has good time and bad time. So what is your, the best time throughout your entrepreneur journey till now?
it is. I immediately know what is the best moment, and it touches upon this mentoring session. So we had a business working for these high-end luxury brands, and we had to close it down in 2018 because of a sharp fall in demand, similar to what happened in Corona with everyone. Sharp fall in demand, and we had to close that business down. And 2018 was for us a really difficult year because we were developing Earthbound as a side project, and we were almost ready to launch it. But in the end, we had to close down our primary business, and it was emotionally for my brother and myself a really, really difficult year, financially and emotionally. And we lost our self-esteem, and we
Mhm.
were we were uh, lost. And in after 1 year of closing down our business and already almost abandoning this idea and vision of creating the ultimate ecological sneaker, in 2019, a friend of ours said, "You should apply for this accelerator program." And at that point, we had no knowledge of pitching to investors, pitching a project, creating an investment proposal, a pitch deck, or anything. But also, we had no self-esteem. But I said, okay, let's try to do this. And we went out in front of a jury, and we won the competition and got our first small investment and mentorship opportunity. But for us, it was a moment that showed that it's not just us that see this idea has potential, but others see that this idea has potential. And that moment was the moment that we became entrepreneurs and not just innovators. And this is what I've been touching upon in this podcast many times. When we brought the idea in front of a jury and the jury said, "This is good, this has potential," that was the best moment in the last 8 years of since the idea was born until today.
Okay, Domagoj, we will be doing a rapid fire round for you. Is it okay?
Yes, let's try.
Okay. So the one material you would ban from fashion.
That's simple. Plastics for sure.
Okay. Your favorite eco-friendly innovation.
Earthbound, of course.
I knew it. Okay. A startup you admire for sustainability.
Mm, I would have to say the ocean cleanup project. It is an amazing project that develops new technologies for cleaning up plastic waste that's piling up on the ocean surface. They have some
Mhm.
amazing technologies, and they partially create that into plastic products, which I'm not really a fan of. But the amount of waste that they clean is huge, and it's a really good technology that will be adapted, I think, worldwide.
Okay. Great. Great. Okay. So Domagoj, how was the experience? Did you enjoy being on the podcast?
Yeah, it was quite enjoyable, and your questions were really good and challenging at times. But I'm really surprised of the internet connection that we have is really good, much better
Uh-huh.
than oftentimes locally. Honestly surprised about the connection. Really,
Okay.
really. Yes, because most of the times that I do calls, it
Mm-hmm.
always So it appears that you have much better connection than the example when I talk to Spain or to Italy. It's much better. So there, but I enjoyed it very much because it's smooth, no problems. Yeah.
But touch wood, in India, there is no problem with internet.
So we have much better internet than Croatia.
Okay, so as you said, surprising. So, was there any question you particularly enjoyed or found surprising?
Uh, I don't know at this at this point. I don't know. There's like a lot. The fashion one the discussion that we had about the high-end fashion shows with the crazy
So,
design.
yeah, actually, I wanted to ask this and I got you to answer.
Yep.
Okay, so any final message you had like to leave for our listener before we wrap up?
I will repeat my message that I said earlier. It's really important to be brave and not wait for the perfect moment to launch your company or product. There will never be a perfect moment. It's much better now than in the future. So just be brave.
Okay, thank you. So that brings us to the end. Uh,
So yeah, I was really happy to participate and thank you very much for inviting me.
Domagoj, thank you for sharing your expertise and inspiring us with your journey in sustainable fashion. Your insights on mentorship and innovation are invaluable. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow us wherever you are listening. Together, let's take steps towards sustainability and innovation. Stay inspired and join us for more conversation with global leaders. Until next time.